The trouble with the Lancaster was that the Navigator was behind the pilot, and he had a table. The normal conditioning of bomber, except with Halifax's, who had a separate office downstairs, was that you were behind the pilot and you had this big table with all your maps and instruments, and you sat sideways. And when I was injured, I was sitting sideways, and I got my face badly damaged, and my right knee is still not right, as it got damaged, and it's still dead after 70 years. My right knee, and the trouble was, of course, the Navigator needed some light, and nobody else did. So eventually they put a curtain up behind the pilot, and it was wrapped round the Navigator, so he could use some light. But they had an angle poised lamp, which I still have a Lancaster angle poised lamp in the workshop at the front there, and so that improved things a bit. But that was a problem. And then of course you had the dome, so you could do star sights using the averaging sextant. But of course later on they didn't use that very often. But in the early days you actually needed that. But when they got G and when they got oboe, so they could drop the mosquitoes could drop the bombs automatically, they didn't need it very often. That sextants at all, the averaging sextants, or the 1155 direction finding equipment. It all kept changing all the time. When we got G, that made a big help, and all the other stuff. And they used to have a system called jinking, which I was impossible for. It used to put the automatic pilot in, and this used to automatically fly the aeroplane, and it would keep going sideways either way automatically. But it was so arranged that after several right turns and left turns, you were finished going up in the right direction. It was quite well done. And that is if the automatic pilot kept working all right. But they had an enormous range of stuff in the Lancaster. It was amazing what was in those aircraft. It fascinated me. I only knew a bit of it, but the stuff I was responsible for was quite enough.
When you were above the bomber, were there certain smells in there, like aviation fuel?
Not really. If you fired your guns, you got cordite smell. Not really. See, there wasn't much heating in them. There was only the cabin got a bit of heating, and the two gunners, of course, they didn't have any heating at all. But they had Windac jackets which were heated. And when they went up to 24,000 feet, they got lots of trouble with their oxygen supplies freezing up. And I was old Len, one of the sergeant in charge of the electrical section. He and I developed a system for heating up the oxygen system of the two gunners, and the problem was, of course, it was getting it right. And once or twice we burned the chins of the crew, which didn't get them very happy. So he went into Grimsby and bought up spare heater elements for electric fires, and I took them home, and I went on leave home, and I went and altered all these, and then we went up to 29,000 feet to set these up, and I'd never been that high before, and it was rather funny. We had thermometers, and being the RAF, half of them were in centigrade and half of them were in Fahrenheit. And when we got up there, they were both reading -40, And I was baffled until I worked out that's the crossover point between Fahrenheit and centigrade. And I always remember that I was actually down at -40, and boy was it cold. And I just had a fairly ordinary uniform and coat and stuff on, and I had gloves, and at the time I had portable oxygen equipment. But it was very cold at -40.
Did you have to wear an oxygen mask at all times aboard the bomber?
Yes, yeah. Well, if you were above about 15,000 feet, you had to have oxygen. Yeah. It was quite well done. But you see, you had to have portable stuff when you were walking about, which went over your chest and plugged it in. But normally you went in, plugged it into the main system. There were big bottles of oxygen in the bomb bay underneath.